right. There we go. All right. Well, good morning, Travis. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Well, thanks you. Thank you for joining us this morning. For those watching, my name is Joseph Henning. I'm the president and CEO for Henry County Chamber of Commerce, and you're here for our monthly community dialogues, generally focusing around diversity, equity, and inclusion in Henry County and beyond. I'd like to thank Kaiser Permanente for their sponsorship of the program this year. This is the second year, and we appreciate their support as we continue the conversation around equity and inclusion. Real quick, before we get started, I've been asked to give a reminder to everybody that July 21st, generally we take July off because it's the summer months and everybody gets their vacations in there. But July 21st, we will be doing our annual educator launch, welcoming about 450 or so new educators to Henry County schools, and we'll be at McDonough High School this year. If anybody's interested in sponsoring that, participating in that, providing items for the bags to be given away to these new educators, please reach out to the chamber team here. You can give us a call or an email, and we look forward to working with you. So that's out of the way. And now, Travis, we can get into our conversation. So I'd like to welcome today Travis Wins. He is the current CEO of Mobile Transportation Services. And MTS provides quality fleet maintenance to the trucking industry. I don't believe this, but Travis began his career as a technician 20 years ago. And through that hard work and dedication, he was able to grow his passion and skill set into management and director level positions, eventually becoming the CEO of MTS. And so he's going to tell us a little bit about MTS, a little bit more about his background. He is a native of the Southern Crescent region of Atlanta, the metro region. And he's currently a member of several different associations, local, national, and state. And so he's going to tell us a little bit about what they're doing around the DEI and workforce development. So we're kind of blending a little bit of both of those today. So Travis, tell us a little bit about how you got started in the industry and why, why you are dedicated to expanding its role, its impact in the workforce area, please.
Okay, sounds good. Well, first off, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you.
So a little about me. I got my start back in 1999. I started as an intrastate CDL holder. I was 18 years old at the time. A lot of people don't realize it, but at 18, you can drive intrastate as long as you're not crossing state lines. My first CDL job was at a local beverage distributor, delivering to local corner grocery and package stores. From that point, I worked in various driving positions for different companies and local deliveries for several years to come. In 2005, I accepted a position as an entry-level technician, and that's where my equipment maintenance background got started. It turned out to be a really good decision for my future. Unfortunately, it was a significant drop in pay at the time, but I felt this was the right decision and where I wanted to be ultimately. I worked as a technician for several years, ended up in maintenance management. My time spent as a fleet maintenance manager is what gave me the building blocks to take my career to the next level. I learned equipment, preventative maintenance schedules, inventory, warranty, and most of all, labor management. In 2016, I took a position as a consultant for a national company where I was basically going out and helping the nation's top 200 fleets with maintenance efficiencies and asset management. We would look at things like life cycle cost and management, maintenance and fuel cost per mile, warranty programs, inventory, fleet equipment specing. We would specifically do it for top fuel mileage, lower maintenance cost, safety and coaching technology. The business model was really set up to take advantage of the greenhouse gas mandates that were put into place during the Obama administration in 2011. The mandates would affect model years 2014 through 2018. Then in 2016, a second phase was added that would extend these model years through 2027. These mandates basically would lead to the OEMs having to increase fuel efficiency by approximately 2.5% year over year. For trucking, this meant selling a truck that was 5 years old and getting into a new truck meant around a 10 to 12% increase in fuel efficiency. These fuel savings and lower maintenance costs alone would outweigh the cost of getting into a newer truck. This life cycle management strategy keeps you in newer trucks with warranty coverage lower breakdown costs and up-to-date safety technology. During my time as a consultant, one thing that stood out to me was a lack of good quality, knowledgeable maintenance vendors across the entire network. I was starting to get involved with the ATA and the TMC, which is the American Trucking Association, and the Technology and Maintenance Council. The Technology and Maintenance Council is basically a department, of the ATA that assists in their technology and maintenance. So during this time, I was made aware of the technician and driver shortages our industry was facing. This was pre-pandemic and only got worse as the pandemic ravaged the country. Shortages currently are approximately 80,000 drivers needed. And due to, baby boomer retirement, we're looking at about 29,000 new technician jobs that will be needed every year through the next decade. And so Mobile Transportation Service was formed in 2017 to help with this issue specifically. So that's a little about my background. So you want me to go on and go into the MTS stuff?
No, I thank you, because I think that that's important for people to understand that you've got a larger experience than local, and with the impact that logistics and transportation has on Henry County's economy. I welcome you here today for that. You now have MTS, Mobile Transportation Service, and I believe you recently expanded some space. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're getting ready to. So currently we're in a 5,000 square foot shop. Our neighbor to the side of us, it's the same building, but it's actually an extra 10,000 square foot. We're waiting on them to move out. They're if anyone's seen it, there at the end of Meredith Park Drive and 155 there's a big building being built. That's going to be the home of the new Atlanta Scales location. And once they're moved out of their location, we're going to acquire their area there.
Okay, wonderful. And tell us a little bit about your, I know we're going to get into some of the different areas that you're looking at expanding the diversity of your team in order to fill the needs that you have. But tell us a little bit about what your workforce looks like right today.
So right now we've got 10 employees. We started in 2017. It's grown year over year. I want to say around 600% since our first completed year. We started with mobile service trucks. That was my vision in the beginning, was to, have mobile trucks rolling, because we can reduce downtime essentially by sending mobile trucks out for smaller repairs and save the bigger stuff for the shop. We moved into our shop in 2020 is when we actually moved into the 5,000 square foot shop. And right as the pandemic was unfolding, we signed our lease actually on March 16th or 15th, I believe it was, of 2020. So it was a hectic couple of weeks there. It was very a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, but we took the chance. We signed the lease, and it ended up working out great for us. The workload is just astronomical. I mean, there's so much work to be done in this industry, and not enough vendors to do it. So, we're just doing everything we can to keep up, and, to continue to bring people in, get them trained up, and continue building this and helping the industry.
Thank you. Plans, in addition to the additional space, do you have plans to expand beyond Henry County or South Metro?
We do.
Need there?
We do, for sure. We're already looking at other cities. Jacksonville, Florida. We're looking at, Nashville, Tennessee, Charlotte, North Carolina, Birmingham, Alabama. Some of the more local, surrounding areas from Metro Atlanta. We want to start in the Southeast, obviously, and kind of build up from there. But we are definitely looking into expansion. The industry is wide open with this stuff, and we're looking to do as much as we can for the industry. So, we started here in Atlanta, but we're definitely looking to continue to grow this as far as it'll grow. And, when I'm done and hanging my hat up on it, I want to be passing it off to somebody else who can continue to grow it and build.
Well, and so one of the key needs that you're going to have for that expansion is definitely the workforce.
Absolutely.
And there is a need. There's great opportunities there, I guess, for anybody interested in the field. So let's talk a little bit. If if you are okay with it, let's start a little bit with, I know that you're involved with the military task force.
Yep.
And the employability of that.
Yep. So the military task force. So basically, the TMC is who actually started the military task force, Technology and Maintenance Council. The TMC, I'll give you a little history on them before I go into the task force. It's a technical council of the American Trucking Association. The council joined the ATA in 1979, but has been around since around 1956. The council was originally formed as a result of fleets putting pressure on the OEMs. At the time, the interstate highway system was just being formed and the equipment wasn't up for the task of the new highway system. So the fleet leaders at the time got together, formed the council to basically put pressure on the manufacturers to build better equipment to handle the workload on the newly built highway systems. Through the continual growth of the organization to help solve the issues, both sides eventually came to the table for a more productive approach, and that's when the study groups, task force, and problem-solving structure was created. TMC currently has over 4,000 pages of recommended practices to help spec, maintain, and test commercial vehicles. These RPs are created through study groups that tackle different sections of the equipment, for example, tires, brakes, electrical, after treatment. Some notable accomplishments of the TMC regarding the recommended practices include one that was made around the 1980s. There was the adoption of the J1587, 1708, and eventually 1939, which made it easier for fleets to diagnose, repair, and maintain equipment through a common data bus rather than having proprietary systems through each of the different electronic engine families. All of the equipment manufacturers agreed to have a common data link that would reduce tooling and resources that would have created a logistical nightmare for fleets that had different types of trucks. This was a big move forward and saved the industry a lot in terms of tools and resources for fleets that maybe had acquired other fleets or purchased several different types of trucks. They would be able to streamline a common data link for electronic diagnostics and repair. Before the adoption of this RP, every OEM would make their own proprietary electronic systems, which would have been terrible for fleets to navigate through. As a result of this RP created by the TMC, the manufacturers all agreed to have a common system, and moving forward, this is how the trucks have been built ever since. Another great accomplishment was the standardized way in which we measure service fuel consumption. So it's not just computer simulations, it's real world trials that get the most accurate fuel efficiency testing procedures to date. These methods help manufacturers and fleets alike have the most accurate fuel efficiency testing standards to help cut down fuel costs and emissions. Lastly, another great accomplishment was an RP that helped with the anti-lock braking system on the trailers. The RP suggested we adapt a system with sufficient voltage to be passed through from the truck to the trailer to require minimum voltages that would ensure proper operation of the trailer's anti-lock braking system. This RP would require a standard on minimal voltage drops from the truck to the trailer. So that's just a few things that the TMC has accomplished. And now they've created this task force, of which I was just appointed the chairman. Which will thank you very much. It's an honor. We're going to research and develop a standardized method of recruiting and hiring military veterans. Some of the benefits of hiring military veterans include, proven leadership and leadership readiness, mission approach focused to work, experience working in diverse teams and organizations, strong work ethics, strong performance under pressure, creative problem solving. We see this task force as a way to streamline a process that would be beneficial to both parties. On one hand, you have veterans that are transitioning into civilian life and looking for their next opportunity. And on the other hand, you have several fleets and service providers across the country looking to hire talent to fill the roles of a depleting workforce that we're facing. These roles would lead to well-paying jobs in the industry while also learning a skilled trade that would help them support their families for many, many years to come. This task force will help make this connection between veterans and job opportunities in the industry. It will also streamline the logistics of making the most efficient process for hiring these service members. So I'm currently looking into a program, just to give you a couple of, ideas of what we're looking into.
Mhm.
One of the programs we're looking into is the Economic Development Administration offers. It's called a Good Job Challenge. It's designed to get Americans back to work, so to speak. Some details of this program include $500 million to skills training systems and programs. EDA encourages efforts to reach historically underserved populations in areas, communities of color, women, other groups facing labor market barriers such as persons with disabilities and veterans and military spouses. We are currently looking into this program more to see how we can adapt this into the Hiring Military Veterans Task Force. Keys to recruiting veterans is getting time in front of these service members before their transition if possible. So, we're asking questions such as, how do we get a list of public opportunities for career discussion with service members before transitioning? Should we recommend fleets have pamphlets or maybe specific social media pages for this cause? This material can be passed out or promoted at the events the military holds prior to transition. Is there a way to get lists of members coming out that specialize in the mechanic technician field specifically? If so, how do we get this information to the fleets? If there is data available showing vets and what regions they're relocating to, we could possibly connect members with fleets this way as well. But that's just an example of some of the questions we're currently asking. What are some of the obstacles military members face when transitioning to civilian life?
Sure.
This info could greatly enhance the process if the fleets could help in this area. Is there a way the TMC can help with these TAPS programs or Department of Labor with these transitions? So, we're currently gathering information as much as possible in preparation. We have fall meetings in Cleveland, Ohio for the TMC. So we're getting as much of it together as we can for those meetings.
Wonderful. And I know that is a huge undertaking. And so congratulations again on chairing that task force.
Thank you.
In my when I was in Illinois, we worked closely with the U.S. Chamber. They have a Hiring Our Heroes program for military veterans and their spouses, and working to support their transition into the private sector. And so if there's anything I can do to help you with that, an introduction or anything like that, let me know, Travis. I'd be happy to set that up. But speaking of Washington, I believe you were just there. Was it last week?
I was up there all week, meeting with members of Congress on several different topics.
Mm-hmm.
The task force came up with a couple of local representatives. We'll see what materializes of that. Nothing that I can really say publicly yet. But
okay.
Yep. So I have the. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I had the opportunity to visit Washington and discuss some other issues with Congress that the AT is wanting to address to help solve some industry problems we're facing, including workforce development, infrastructure, credentialing, licensing, and lawsuit abuse, to name a few.
Mm-hmm.
The ATA is in full support of the bipartisan infrastructure bill that was passed last year by the Biden administration. They gave him high kudos on that. The Jobs Act that was passed last year, creates funding to invest in our nation's roads and bridges. In the U.S., 1 in 5 miles of the highways and major roads, along with 45,000 bridges, are in poor condition. The legislation will reauthorize surface transportation programs for 5 years and invest $110 billion in additional funding to repair our roads and bridges and support major transformational projects. Unfortunately, with the recent news from the Biden administration that they are considering a tax holiday to suspend fuel taxes, this is a little bit of a blow to the much needed infrastructure bill that was passed, as it would take away funding that would pay for these road projects. The ATA is strongly encouraging the Biden administration to not consider the tax holiday and to instead focus on energy independence and bring down fuel pricing in that manner. The trucking industry in Georgia paid approximately $1.2 billion in federal and state roadway taxes in 2019, which accounts for 36% of all taxes owed by Georgia motorists, while only representing approximately 10% of the vehicle miles traveled in the state. According to research done by the ATA and the American Transportation Research Institute, 5 of the top 20 bottlenecks in the U.S. are here in Georgia, representing 25% of the top 20. The McDonough corridor here on 75 coming in at number 12.
Mhm.
So it's imperative that the state spend the infrastructure dollars in the right areas to help reduce these major bottlenecks our state is facing to help relieve supply chain issues and inefficiencies. Workforce development was highly discussed. It's a current issue as the industry faces an 80,000 driver shortage. There's strong support from the ATA for Congress to pass the Jobs Act, which is HR 2037, which would make shorter term education and training programs like CDL schools eligible for federal Pell Grants, as it would reduce the minimum 15-week eligibility, opening up options for CDL training to be a part of those Pell Grants. There's also support for the Strengthening Supply Chains through Truck Driver Incentives Act, HR 7348, which would offer a tax credit of up to $7,500 for qualified CDL holders. These bills would be incentives for individuals looking for career opportunities to enter the trucking industry. There are approximately 280,000 trucking industry jobs in Georgia, representing $14.1 billion in wages as of 2019. To help reduce inefficiencies, the ATA is also supporting legislation, the TSA Security Threat Modernization Act, HR 6571, which would streamline background checks for TWIC cards to access ports and hazmat endorsements. The background check would stay the same. So, no safety, no security issues there. However, it would harmonize background checks for hazmats, TWIC, and TSA pre-checks. So you would essentially only have to get one background check versus multiple, and you would have access to all three credentials. This would effectively reduce administration costs and resources for sending drivers multiple times for background checks and reduce it down to just one background check instead. These background checks can take several weeks and even months to get back. Why not streamline this and do all three credentials with one background check to reduce expenses and logistics of credentials? And lastly, there's full support for the Highway Accident Fairness Act, HR 6151, which would protect the industry from lawsuit abuse resulting from staged collisions. The bill would require public disclosure of third-party litigation financing firms that are basically investing in these accidents due to the high payout. If this legislation passes, it would force companies to disclose any entity that gets a payout from the lawsuits. It would also establish a federal crime for staged collision schemes. And this bill would help to reduce the high payouts the industry is faced with due to an unregulated situation where lawsuit abuse runs rampant. So that's some of the main topics we were discussing.
That was quite a list for 1 week in DC. Definitely.
Absolutely.
So we've talked a little bit about veterans, and we've talked about the workforce shortage, and I know you are particularly interested in a couple other areas in workforce development, maybe around training students in that. And so what are your thoughts, and where are you hoping to get involved in this workforce and in the equity and inclusion efforts?
So basically what we're looking to do is, as we expand into this bigger location, is we're going to build training facilities there at the shop with basically different modules to where people that we hire, we're going to hire people anywhere from zero experience whatsoever to highly experienced people. We're going to bring them in, we're going to give them full training options to go through these modules and learn. They're going to spend a lot of time learning. This opens up opportunity for underprivileged people who didn't have the access to college or resources and things like that. We're basically going to create a in the field type of training situation to where they'll go through our system and work through our training processes and work with other trained technicians before they ever build the first hour on their own, essentially. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're really excited about that. We've got a lot of people interested in it. This is something that is really, I'd say, goes against what has been done traditionally. Most, in my experience anyways, all the way, working through different shops and working with different companies around the country. People, are very reluctant to hire inexperienced people. And frankly, we're facing a situation to where, we've got to get more people into the industry, no matter which way you look at it. So, if there's people that are interested in coming in and working and learning this stuff and have good work ethic and, have good integrity about themselves, we're going to bring them in. We're going to train them. We're going to give them a good career, a nice paying career, something that can, provide for their families for years and years, and at the same time, it's going to help the industry, tackle the technician shortage.
What I know in our experience working in workforce development, and that we had some obstacles around manufacturing and the age of individuals observing and even doing workforce development internships in that. Is there an age? Is it 18 the cutoff, or can you go to 16, or what's that age look like for diesel mechanics and mechanics in general?
18 is where we start at. I don't necessarily know if there's a legal requirement to hire at least 18, but that's personally where we start at. We feel 18 to 21 is a great time to get people. I mean, this is when people are, coming out of high school, they're trying to figure out what they're going to be doing. This is a great time to capture the minds of these younger people. And we've been pretty successful with that, and some of the people that we've hired, some of the younger guys that we've hired, they've really came in and learned very well. They've had high ambition and good motivation, and they come in, they just pick up real quick, and they're they're smart when it comes to the technology and the computer systems, which is a lot of where this trucking and maintenance and repairs go. And so yeah, we're starting around 18, and and that's too there's the Drive Safe Act, which was just passed with the infrastructure bill last year. It was passed under a pilot program that's actually designed to get drivers 18 to 21 on the roads. A lot of some people are against it, but the thing about it is, from a safety perspective, there's already 18-year-olds on the road. Just like I mentioned, I got my CDL at 18. It's you can get your CDL as long as you're driving intrastate. So essentially you can drive from Miami to Panama City, but you can't drive from Panama City to Dothan. So it's there's a lot of push to keep that momentum going from a driver perspective, just because, and it's kind of the same mentality. You want to get these people when they're younger. You want to try to captivate their minds and bring them in and get them interested in this field. And so yeah, that's really where we like to start at, is 18, and we'll hire anybody. I mean, I've hired older gentlemen too that perform really well and do a great job. So we're kind of all over the board.
Okay, well, thank you. And I think one last question I have. I think we've seen more and more female drivers on the road, driving trucks and that with their CDLs and that. What does that look like from the mechanic and tech perspective? And is there a change going there? And kind of how are you looking at that now from the industry perspective?
Oh, absolutely. Anybody who's interested in coming in and learning this field is going to get their opportunity. From one of the issues the industry is facing from a driver perspective, just for informational. So bringing more females in, how does that look as far as we've got the industry is going to have to come up with more parking spaces, and good safe parking spaces that have restrooms and safe lit parking lots. I heard some numbers in Washington last week. I think there's around 300 and something thousand, 300 maybe 11,000 parking spots in the country, and there's 3.1 million drivers. So this just gives you an idea of the shortage of parking that's out there. One of the ladies that was actually up there with me, that's actually local here in McDonough. That's one of the things she kept bringing up was, to get more women involved in this field, we have to create the environment that is, applicable to them, in this parking spaces, create clean parking spaces with clean restrooms and lit areas, well-lit areas. That way they feel safe, they can do what they need to do. And we're all for it as well. If women came in and wanted to learn the technician role, we would sure put them through the training process and get them involved. Yeah.
Wonderful. Travis, what is your website in case anybody's interested in looking at the training opportunities and the positions available?
It's mtsfleet.com.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Yep.
And you said off of 155 here in McDonough, correct?
That's
where
correct.
you're
Yep.
located?
Yep. Meredith Park Drive. Yep.
Wonderful. Anything we've come to the half-hour mark, but I don't want to. If there's anything else that I forgot to ask or that you want to share with us, is there any last minute parting thoughts that you have?
No, nothing off the top of my head.
Okay.
It was pretty good. I feel like we covered all the points I wanted to touch on. And yeah, once again, I thank you for having me on here and giving me the opportunity to discuss these very important issues. And, as a whole, I believe there is solutions. We have to have creative minds, on this stuff and thinking about these problems and investing in creating solutions for these problems regularly. So, we'll get there. It's just going to take time. We just got to continue pushing forward.
I agree. Thank you for your time. I appreciate that. I love to hear from our members that are, working beyond the confines of Henry County and experiences in especially DC and Atlanta and that. I agree. I think I hate to say that it was a great takeaway from the pandemic, but I think what a lot of us in the business community realized was that there are new ways, there are better ways that we can do what we do. And so I wish you the best of luck in the expansion, not only here in McDonough, but as you look regionally in that. And I hope that you will come back maybe next year. We'll look at the timing in that, but see how the workforce development initiatives you have are going and look at some of that and maybe see, maybe talk to some of the technicians as well and see what they've learned as they've gone through the training.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I'd love to do that.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Travis. Have a great day. Again, thank you to Kaiser Permanente for their sponsorship for our community dialogues, and to everybody that watched. Have a great afternoon and a great week ahead of you. Thank you, and we'll see you. I believe we're off in July, but we'll be back in August with the community dialogue. So we'll see you in 2 months. Travis, thank you again. Appreciate your time.
Thanks. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Bye.